The booth is, you know, it's pretty cool. And one of the things that's happened, this is true of our theater downtown, you know, projection and the way that films are distributed have changed so much in the last decade that, you know, every new theater that's opening is digital. I mean, most of them are entirely digital, no film at all. But yeah, so we'll have 35 millimeter reel-to-reel projection capability here, just like we do downtown. And at the same time, be able to show digital, DCP, Blu-ray, you know, show in those formats. In the microcinema, we'll actually have the ability to do 16 millimeter, which is pretty special. So, you know, it's interesting because when we opened downtown 10 years ago, we had 35 millimeter reel-to-reel, we had 35 millimeter platter system, and then we had, you know, the ability to show digital. At that time, our digital projector was like one of the newer, you know, digital projectors. Yeah. And, you know, since then, like platter 35 millimeter, which is where you'd take all the reels and put them together on one big reel, like that way of projecting film has completely gone away. And so it's really either, if you're showing 35 millimeter anymore, you really need to have experienced projectionists that can show reel-to-reel, which we do, or you're showing, like, you know, in the digital formats. So it's like our booths, in a way, like I always kind of talk about them as these sort of working museums in a way, because you're seeing projection kind of through the years, like, but it's happening here, like on a day-to-day basis.
Was it something like you had to buy a new projection reel, or were these old projectors from the Dundee you were able to use?
No, we weren't able to use anything from the Dundee, and the things that were able to be saved had been taken. You know, things like the bulbs, you know, things that when projectionists get into a booth, they make a beeline for certain things. Yeah. But one thing that was kind of cool that we were able to save is there's this big old projection stand that's like probably weighs like 5,000 pounds. That's being kind of repurposed as sort of like the base of a table that's going to go back in the green room back here. But it's all new projection. We worked with the company Boston Light and Sound, who's here working on all of the theater installation. So projection in both theaters, the screen, the sound. They're like sort of the industry leaders of doing that sort of thing, and really experienced on that type of booth where we have to have, you know, 35 millimeter and digital. So, yeah.
So looking in here, it looks like the next big thing to go up is the screen.
The screen, yeah.
Right? That's kind of the big missing piece.
Yep.
So
yeah.
far.
Yeah. The scaffolding was up, and they were doing some work, and so the screens should be going up pretty soon. Yeah. Because in here, we're getting pretty close. Yeah. We're getting here. So this is like backstage. This is behind the theater. You know, the Dundee always had a stage, and it wasn't a very like big stage. And it's something that we wanted to preserve, keep it around. We're going to have like a screen, and everything that we're going to be doing is always going to be film based. But it was important for us to.
Hello, pardon us. Work zone. I love it.
But it's part of the history of the theater, and so we wanted to preserve that space. So the backstage, the stage kind of becomes sort of a backstage area. So when we've got filmmakers coming in for Q&As and special events and things like that, they've got a space that they can, you know, hang out. Yeah, hang out before shows. So, and we've got some. I mentioned like the old projector stand that's going to be repurposed in a table. We got one of the signs from outside that's going to be going in here.
Were some of those floors? They look like original floors.
They may be. Yeah. When we came in here. So this was it was sort of full of a lot of stuff. I mean, it became kind of a storage area too. The floors seem original. It was in really, really rough shape, but there were kind of like some, you know, threads of sort of an early curtain that were here. So there was a lot of stuff that, you know, that was here. Not in the greatest shape, but it was here. So it was kind of interesting. You know.
Yeah. Okay, go again one more time. Sorry.
Yeah. So this is the 25-seat microcinema. This is, you know, this is one of the things we're really excited about, that bringing this additional screening room to the Dundee. You know, if you think about the main auditorium, which is 300 seats, you know, of the theaters that Film Streams will program, that's the biggest one. So at any given time, you know, the biggest independent film or international film that we would be showing would be there. And then on the other hand, you know, this room would be showing and really giving us the opportunity to bring to Omaha, you know, maybe something that's a little edgier, a little bit more experimental, something that we know isn't necessarily going to be bringing like big audiences.
But still might have an interest.
Yeah, and you know, but film lovers are going to have an interest, and people are reading about it in like the New York Times and stuff. And so it's just bringing more films and opportunities to Omaha. And then the other cool thing that'll be happening in this room is our Film Streams courses program, which are these multi-week film seminars, where our education director, Diana Martinez, you know, leads groups of, and it'll be this size, about 25, through, you know, 5 films on, you know, different subjects. It might be a director, it might be, you know, a particular genre or an aesthetic, and teaching about the tools of film analysis. And so this is going to be the home for that program.
And this one also has the 16mm?
Yeah.
Right?
So this will have projection in here will be digital, so DCP, Blu-ray capabilities, and then also 16mm, which is really cool. Because there's some things like we showed a series of Andy Warhol films, let's see, a couple of years ago. They're just available on 16mm, and so we showed those downtown. We needed to bring in a 16mm projector, but this theater will be kind of ready to go with that. So it's a cool little booth because they've got like, you know, you can look at it, but it's like on this little track system of like how the projection will happen. But you know, in here I'll have desks, so
for the student classes and everything else. I could also totally see like in between screenings, like if someone wanted to rent this out. It's like a fundraising opportunity or something.
Yeah, it's a room where like it's kind of nice if someone wants to do like a, you know, private screening of something. This is going to be a really cool room for that.
And I love the pink chairs.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely the theme over here.
Bright colored chairs.
This side's old, this side's new.
Really?
And the only real difference.
This is like a little bit like yellower, like old, like.
Actually, the stones are smaller.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
The stones are smaller. You can't get small stones anymore. They make them bigger than they made them in 1925.
Oh my gosh.
So that's the only real difference. The colors are exact. The percentages are right. The stones are just bigger.
My eyes are playing tricks on me. Where I'm like, but.
And then this black is original.
Okay.
And the black behind you is the new.
So this is new?
That is new.
Okay. What about the little square tiles that kind of are in between each of them?
The ones that start right here, that look a lot bigger.
Yes.
Those are new.
Okay.
Yeah.
But these are old.
The original theater, you know, opened in 1925, and that lobby, you know, the concessions counter was essentially kind of like you know, there's room for like a display, a display case.
Tiny.
The ticketing booth was really kind of like a kiosk, and so, you know, we're talking about a 300-seat theater, and we're talking about, you know, in 2017 and beyond. You know, it was important to have, you know, more space for ticketing, more space for concessions, and
making things big enough for like ADA requirements and that kind of stuff.
And then, you know, we do a lot of special programs. Well, we might have a guest filmmaker that's here. You know, downtown we do a lot of, you know, at least one a year where we do a silent film with a live score. So we may, you know, we do different things where we might have a program and then have a, you know, kind of a post party afterwards. And so having a space where we can, you know, we can put 300 people for those types of events, it just means that the types of things that we can be bringing to town are just like all the more, you know, more filmmakers and Q&A screenings and special events where we're connecting our audiences with filmmakers. So,